short-term public space that could be usable. And that very quickly became kind of the objective of the project. We were very well aware, the client made us very well aware of the heat and how people do not like to be outside most of the time because of the desert weather. So we studied what we really needed to do and what we needed to respond to mitigate that, to create a space that was actually comfortable most of the year. With two things in mind. One was the expo phase that had some spatial requirements, and the other one would be the legacy phase that has different requirements. For the expo phase, it was more focused around people gathering, shows, and exhibits. And the legacy phase was more about being there, creating a park, and creating a destination for people. For this, we needed to create a microclimate that was welcoming for people. We have talked about this through the conference a few times, like the importance of creating microclimates and entice people to be outside and share. And that really became really the driver for all the design decisions that came after. Those are images of the vision that we have for the legacy phase. So after construction and after the expo was done, it will take a few years for this to become a reality because plants need to grow and people need to learn about the space. One aspect was very important, and it was to create value around it. So when you create a park, if the park is of good quality, you will create value around it. And it was important for us that the building around will have a little more density. They will help shade, and they will also have a direct connection visually to the park in the inside. So the objective became to create a space, a garden that was 10% cooler than the summer average temperature, right? And that's a big challenge to have in a desert environment. But we have scientists that support us on way to do it. The strategy was a multifaceted strategy. We needed to create first a shade device that would allow some sun to go through to support the vegetation underneath, but reject heat. We needed to create a microclimate. We needed to allow for good airflow, and with the landscape, we also did something to allow for people to enjoy it down there. So it was many things. The first, say, line of defense, it was shading and ventilation. So the canopy of the trellis needed to have those two things: shade some of the sun, not a lot of it, because otherwise it will not be sustainable for plantings, and the other one is to allow ventilation to go through it freely. The other one was the vegetation, and that was like lower to the ground where people are, vegetation and topography. The topography, we zoned the garden to allow colder air to sink and create a more naturally comfortable environment. And the vegetation would allow for more cooling through evaporation and further shading where the people are. That informed the legacy transition too. On the left, you see during the expo, mostly paving, like colors to mitigate some heat. The expo was held in the winter months, which are cooler, and the legacy phase would be more green, so we would infill the paving areas with plantings and landscape. Sustainability was, of course, at the center of the design. We had basically three families of sustainable approaches. One was surrounding people and the environment, creating a microclimate, reducing heat, and using native plants. The second strategy was focusing about energy efficiency. So it will be about shading, self-shading, and harvesting solar energy. And the third one was about sustainability, accreditations, and how to tackle water conservation, material reuse, and carbon offsets. So what you see when you go there is just the trellis and the park, but it is a complex system. We had a lot of support areas underneath. There's a lot of technology that is integrated into the structure. The landform is basically what you walk on. The landscape and the nature is something that is ongoing, still growing, and of course the trellis, which is the more visible part of the project. So I will focus on the trellis to explain how important it was to pay attention to the design of this structure, considering a desert environment. To be connected to the culture, we basically took a look at what the Expo logo was inspired from. The expo was inspired from a gold ring that was found in the area, which is the one that you see on the right bottom. The image on the middle bottom is the expo logo. So we took this as inspiration for the structure, and we did parametric design to write to what the design became. In terms of the scale, it's very large. It's about 130 meters in diameter. So you can, fit the Arc de Triomphe on there. The International Space Station can fit in there. A soccer field could fit in there, and 4.777 would fit in there. So the scale is very big, and we needed to manage that structure, right? So a lot of engineering went into this, and we were having a couple things in mind. One was efficiency of the structure, but also the way it looked, because we needed to hold that weight, that presence in the expo. The structural design became very intrinsic to the pattern for the ring. We wanted to communicate this in very clear ways, but it transformed as it went up to the oculus. And as you can see here, there were spaces in between the structural members that were void. And for that, we did an infill panel that was made of a fabric that would allow just the right amount of light to support landscape, to create a cooler environment, and to create some solidity from the outside. We needed to strike the perfect balance in between light, transparency, and shade. And that was the challenge. There was a lot of research that went into picking the right material that will get us here. So what you see here is basically a fiberglass fabric that is in a tensile panel that is pre-made and then mounted. And that allowed about 30% of the visible light to go through and reflected the other one out. So back to the value, we wanted to be sure that the people that are inside of the buildings around hotels, offices, could look into the plaza and enjoy a show or an exhibit or just the park. To ensure that this project, that this park will allow value to be generated around it. From the outside, when you're far enough, what you see is a more solid building. So we have that balance in between when you're close, you can see through it, but when you're far enough, you can't. And therefore, you can see the shape and the architecture. In terms of the color scheme and the way it presents itself into the public, we wanted to be respectful to the environment and to the desert. And there are performative decisions that were made because of that issue. We didn't want to put something too bright or too shiny, so we picked the color of the sun of the valley for that. The reason being is because if it's too dark, it becomes too hot, and if it's too bright, it becomes very glary and uncomfortable to look at from the outside. In the inside sense strategy is sand color, and that helps a little bit with the maintenance issue. So when it's sand color, the dust you don't see, so it's a little more attainable in terms of maintenance. So when you are inside, you feel contained, you feel you have a right to a space, which was the point. And also you get a little comfort from two things. It's cooler, you feel a difference when you walk into this, and also the light levels are much more comfortable, so it's not as bright. So it's two things, it's light and it's temperature. At night, however, we also wanted to expand the use of this park over the day into the night, and we created this canvas that can be projected on. That's where the right density of the fabric was important too, because we wanted to be sure that we could project into it and it have a resolution that people would understand what's going on. So what we created was a media and a public interface for people to basically have a shared experience when we're there, and that will engage this structure further into what the public perceives the structure to be. To make this possible, the trellis has a lot of infrastructure to it. There is a lot of systems that have to go, audio, video, lighting, also cleaning and maintenance. So what you see here is the array of systems that go within the structure. It is very complex, but it was needed to make it happen. The main feature for the multi-neurological part of this project are the projection pads. You see them here on the image on the right, on the left side. The idea here was to create a ring of pads. We have 48 of those, and each of those pads have 6 very high definition projectors, and each projector has a zone within the dome. So at the end, when all those things are going, you have a very high definition immersive experience, and you can project anything you want. So like content creation became something very important and something that needed to be taken care of for the expo and for the expo. That's some more images of the projection pads. Those pads are the size of jet engines, so they're pretty big. They're mini buildings on their own. They have their own mechanical system, their own lighting system, and their own infrastructure. So here is some images during the expo, but what we really wanted to do is to ensure that post-expo it will remain active. People will come here and create a destination for Dubai, and that will ensure the long-term viability of the project as the time goes by. Here is an image, like this is a normal day functioning at night. And here I'll leave you with a quick video of the construction and the realization of the project. A lot of thought went into the constructability of this thing, how you put this thing together. It was very interesting. Here you see some panels being placed. Here you see a little bit of the solidity of the panels from the outside, so it's more of an object. And here you can get a peek inside of the garden that is more shaded and more comfortable for the pedestrian. That's the image at night. As you can see, at nighttime you can see a little bit through it because the light situation changes. Not too bright, but so you understand that something is happening inside there. People might be drawn to go and habitate that space. So that's what we deliver. Now it's kind of an icon for that district. And we were able to combine all these aspects. We came for circle and we said, did we achieve what we wanted to achieve? And the answer being, we did.